Chapter 1. The Lazy Exorcist and the Haunted Wallet. The demon was crying. Chun Haoyu watched from the rooftop edge, one leg dangling over 30 stories of Shanghai real estate, a grape halfway to his mouth. Below him, in the alley behind a hot pot restaurant, a lesser greed demon was sobbing into its own claws while two impurity spirits tried to comfort it by offering a half-eaten chicken foot. "Just take the lottery ticket," Haoyu muttered. "It's not that deep." But the demon couldn't. The ticket was wedged under a drain grate, and the grate was protected by a residual ward left by some overachieving temple in turn 3 blocks over. The demon had been trying to reach it for 6 hours. Haoyu ate the grape. He considered helping. He considered it for approximately half a second, which was his maximum daily allowance for considering effort. No, he was done. 10 years. 10 years of exorcisms, possessions, midnight calls from panic families. 10 years of the Underworld Bureau sending him paperwork with sections like, "Please describe the demon's emotional state prior to banishment. Attach Form 87B. 10 years of running, fighting, bleeding, and once he still had nightmares about this, having to attend a mandatory workshop on interdimensional boundary etiquette. He was 25 years old. He wanted a nap. The greed demon finally gave up and dissolved into a puddle of black resentment. The impurity spirits ate the chicken foot and followed. The lottery ticket remained under the grate, forever unclaimed. Haoyu pulled out his bagua compass. It was an old thing, brass and jade, inherited from a master who had inherited it from a master who had probably never imagined it would be used for this purpose. The needle spun lazily, then stopped. It pointed northeast, toward the financial district. He closed his eyes and let his consciousness sink into the compass's deeper layers. This was the part that would have horrified his teachers. They had taught him to calculate fates using proper ritual, incense, hours of meditation. Haoyu had discovered that if he just thought about the numbers hard enough while lying down, it worked the same. The calculations surfaced like a bubble from deep water. Peace coefficient, 0.03. He blinked. That was bad. That was you will never know rest territory. That was demons will follow you into the shower numbers. He recalculated. Peace coefficient, 0.03. Great, he said to no one. So I'm cursed. But then the compass flickered. A second reading, one he hadn't asked for. He frowned and pushed deeper, past the surface layers of his own fate into the tangled web of everyone else's. There, a single point of light, not a person, a location. Within 50 meters of a specific human being, the peace coefficient jumped to 0.98. Near perfect, heavenly. Haoyu sat up straighter. That had never happened before. He focused on the person at the center of that bubble. The image came through distorted. Too much protective magic, too many layers of curse and counter-curse. But he caught fragments. A sharp jawline. Dark circles under eyes that hadn't truly slept in years. A bank account balance that made Haoyu's brain hurt and wrapped around this person like a shroud. Inverse luck. Not bad luck. Inverse luck. The richer he got, the more supernatural entities would target him. The more successful, the more cursed. It was a parasite's dream, a human being so valuable that the universe itself had decided to make him a target. Haoyu grinned for the first time in months. That's my hammock. The Shao Corporation headquarters occupied the top 15 floors of the tallest building in Pudong. It was designed to impress, glass and steel, angles that caught the light just so, a lobby that smelled like money and expensive air filtration. The security team had 3 former Special Forces operatives, 2 metaphysical consultants, and a golden retriever that could detect possession through scent alone. None of them noticed the young man in the hoodie who walked through the front door, yawned at the receptionist, and said, "I'm here to see Chen. He's expecting me." He wasn't, of course. But Haoyu had also calculated that the receptionist's horoscope for today indicated she would make one uncharacteristically poor decision due to Mercury's retrograde shadow period. He was counting on it. "Floor 82, she said, already buzzing him through. Then she blinked. Wait. But he was already in the elevator. Chen was in the middle of a merger negotiation when the chandelier fell. He didn't flinch. He hadn't flinched at anything in approximately 7 years. Flinching was a luxury for people who didn't have shadow creatures dripping from their ceilings on a weekly basis. The chandelier, a 600-kilogram monstrosity of Murano glass and Italian arrogance, crashed onto the conference table exactly 1.4 seconds after Ichin had pushed his chair back to stand. The executives on either side of him screamed. Ichin continued reading the merger clause about intellectual property transfer. "Someone call maintenance," he said. "Sir, your security team just tackled the waiter." His assistant, Lin Wei, whispered urgently into his ear. He was possessed. Again. Ichin looked up. Sure enough, 3 security guards were pinning a twitching man in a white jacket to the carpet. The man's eyes were completely black, and his mouth was moving in reverse. "Third one this month," Ichin noted. "The caterer is getting sloppy." He signed the merger document. The possessed waiter burst into flames. The security team put him out with a fire extinguisher. Ichin was already calculating how much the chandelier replacement would cost when the conference room door opened. A young man walked in. He was wearing a gray hoodie, black jeans, and the expression of someone who had just woken up from a nap and was already planning their next nap. His hair was too long, falling over dark eyes that looked at the burning waiter, the shattered chandelier, the panicking executives, and finally at Ichin. "You're Xiao Ichin?" the young man asked. "Who are you?" Ichin's hand moved toward the panic button under the table. It was wired directly to the metaphysical consultants on floor 70. The young man was eating grapes from a plastic bag. He chewed, swallowed, then flicked a grape skin toward the ceiling. It arced perfectly. It spun twice in the air. It landed on the shadow creature that had been dripping from the ceiling corner, unnoticed by everyone except the golden retriever, who had been whimpering for the past 30 seconds. The grape skin touched the creature's face, if a void of malice could have a face, and the creature screamed. It was not a human scream. It was the sound of 1,000 whispers collapsing into silence. The executives covered their ears. The possessed waiter stopped twitching. The shadow creature dissolved into gray mist, then nothing. The grape skin fell to the carpet. Silence. Ichin stared at the young man, who had already lost interest and was eating another grape. "My name is Chun Haoyu," the young man said around a mouthful of fruit. "I'm your new lucky charm." Ichin's hand stopped an inch from the panic button. "My what?" "Lucky charm." Haoyu wandered to the broken conference table, stepped over a piece of Murano glass, and sat down on the edge. He made no move to help the executives who were still huddled under their chairs. "You have inverse luck. I have a surplus of heavenly calm. We're a match set." He held up a grape. "See? Grape skin. Dead demon. I didn't even have to get up. You killed it with a grape skin? I killed it with intention." The grape skin was just the delivery mechanism. Haoyu yawned. "Look, I'll make this simple. I'm tired. You're cursed. I want a villa with blackout curtains, unlimited grapes, and 0 chores. In exchange, you will stop almost dying every 5 minutes. Deal." Ichin looked at the man. Really looked. Beneath the laziness, beneath the hoodie and the terrible posture, there was something else. Something that made the golden retriever, who was now cautiously sniffing Haoyu's ankle, wag its tail for the first time in 3 months. "You're insane," Ichin said. "Probably." Haoyu slid off the table. "I'll give you the night to think about it. I'll be in your bed." "My what?" But Haoyu was already walking out, past the security team, past the receptionist, past the golden retriever who tried to follow him. He didn't look back. That night, Ichin returned to his penthouse at 1:47 a.m. He had spent 4 hours in crisis meetings, 2 hours with his metaphysical consultants, who confirmed that something had killed the shadow creature but couldn't explain how, and 1 hour staring at the security footage of a grape skin flying through the air like a guided missile. He was exhausted. He was paranoid. He was, as always, alone. His penthouse had 17 rooms, 12 of which he had never entered. The master bedroom faced south. His consultants had insisted on it, after the incident with the north-facing guest room and the vengeful spirit that had taken 3 days to exorcise. He opened the bedroom door. Chun Haoyu was asleep in his bed. Not on the bed. In the bed. Under the covers. Head on the pillow that Ichin had specifically chosen for its cervical support properties. The man had stolen Ichin's $400 pillow. The death direction, how you mumbled without opening his eyes. Your bed faces it. I moved the entire bed frame 12 degrees west while you were out. You're welcome. Ichin stood frozen in the doorway. You move my bed. Don't touch me until morning. How you pulled the covers higher. Your curse residue is strongest at night. If you touch me, it'll transfer and I'll have to do actual work to fix it. So stay on your side. A pause. Also, there are no grapes in this apartment. Unacceptable. Ichin looked at the bed. He looked at the man in it. He looked at the window, which now faced a slightly different angle of the Shanghai skyline. He should call security. He should call the police. He should do literally anything except stand here like an idiot while a stranger stole his pillow. Instead, he walked to the other side of the bed, the side that was now facing the new auspicious direction, according to the man's mumbling, and sat down. He didn't get under the covers. He didn't lie down. He sat on the edge, back straight, and watched the rise and fall of Chun Hao-Yu's breathing. For the first time in 10 years, no shadow moved in the corners of his room. No whispers came from the walls. No pressure settled on his chest, waiting for him to close his eyes. Just silence. Just the soft sound of a stranger breathing. Ichin stayed awake until 4 a.m., waiting for the other shoe to drop. It didn't. Finally, still in his suit, he leaned back against the headboard and closed his eyes. He didn't sleep, but for the first time in a decade, he rested. Chapter 2. The Grapeskin Theorem. You have to leave. Xiao Yichin said this at 7:13 a.m., standing in his own kitchen, holding a cup of black coffee, staring at the man who had somehow acquired a bowl of grapes and was eating them while lying on Yichin's Italian leather sofa. Counter-offer, Hao Yu said, not opening his eyes. No, I will pay you 10 million yuan to leave right now. No, 20 million. No, 50. Hao Yu opened one eye. Do I look like I care about money? He ate a grape. I care about not working. Your curse zone is the only hammock in this storm. 50 million yuan won't buy me a single peaceful night if I leave here. So no. Yichin set down his coffee. He had dealt with hostile takeovers, government investigations, and a curse that had tried to kill him in 17 different ways since his 21st birthday. He had never dealt with someone who simply refused to be bought. What do you actually want? He asked. A villa with blackout curtains, unlimited grapes, and zero chores. Hao Yu recited. I told you this yesterday. Are you not listening? Or do you have a medical condition? I have a condition where strangers don't move into my house. Not a medical condition. A personality flaw. Hao Yu sat up, finally looking at Yichin properly. His eyes were dark and clear, and for a moment, the laziness dropped away. Xiao Yichin, you have been cursed since birth. You have not slept through the night in 10 years. Every person who gets close to you either tries to kill you, gets killed for you, or runs away. I'm not going to do any of those things. I'm going to lie on your couch, eat your grapes, and occasionally flick things at demons. In exchange, you will stop almost dying. This is the best deal you will ever receive. Take it. Yichin was silent for a long moment. 1 week trial, he said finally. If you're useless, you leave. I won't be useless. How you lay back down. But fine. 1 week. Now go to work. You're blocking the morning sunlight, and I can feel your curse residue giving me a headache. The first assassination attempt came at 2:47 p.m. Yichin was in his private elevator, descending from the executive floor to the parking garage. He had a meeting with a venture capital firm at 3 o'clock. He was reviewing the pitch deck on his tablet. He did not notice the way the elevator's floor numbers flickered, 74, 73, 72, or the way the air grew thick and hot. In the lobby, Chen Haoyu was eating grapes. He had set up camp on a bench near the security desk. The security guards had tried to move him twice. Both times he had said no without looking up from his phone, and both times the guards had inexplicably walked away and forgotten why they were annoyed. He was reading a web novel about a reborn villainess who takes revenge on her cheating fiancé. It was, in his opinion, excellent literature. Then he felt it, a karma reversal talisman. High level. Someone had placed it on the elevator's control panel. The moment the elevator reached a certain floor, It would activate and turn the enclosed space into a furnace. The person inside would burn alive, and the talisman would ensure that their death registered as a karmic accident, untraceable, unavengable. The elevator was at floor 68. It would reach the trigger floor in approximately 45 seconds. Hao Yu sighed. He did not get up. He did not run. He reached into his great bag, pulled out a single seed, and flicked it toward the elevator bank without looking. The seed hit the door-open button on the panel beside the elevator shaft. Not the elevator itself. The panel was too far, the angle wrong. But the seed ricocheted off the button, hit a decorative metal plate, bounced to the floor, and rolled to a stop. The elevator, which had just reached floor 72, stopped. The doors opened. The talisman activated. The elevator car was empty. The explosion, when it came, was contained to the shaft. The lobby windows rattled. Several people screamed. A fine dust rained from the ceiling. Hao Yu turned a page on his phone. The villainess had just poisoned her stepsister's tea. Excellent. Explain this. I Chen had the security footage on a loop. 12 times. 12 times he had watched the grainy image of a young man on a lobby bench, not looking up from his phone, flicking a grape seed that traveled 23 meters, hit a button at an impossible angle, and save his life. Hao Yu was on the couch again. It was 9 p.m. He had not moved from the couch except to acquire more grapes. I Chen's assistant, Lin Wei, had bought out an entire fruit stand when Hao Yu had complained about grape quality issues. I don't need to explain it, Hao Yu said. You saw it. I saw a grape seed. You saw a grape seed hit a button that shouldn't have been hittable. Hao Yu finally looked up from his phone. I felt the talisman. I calculated its activation range, its trigger floor, and the minimum force needed to press a button from 23 meters away. Then I flicked a seed. That's what I do. I calculate. I don't run. I don't fight. I lie down and think about math, and then I flick things. That's not math. That's... I Chen struggled for the word. That's impossible. It's metaphysics. Hao Yu shrugged. Your luck is a lighthouse. It attracts every bad thing in a 10-kilometer radius. My laziness is a net. I catch the things your lighthouse attracts, and I deal with them using the minimum possible effort. It's efficient. I Chen sat down across from him. For the first time, he noticed something he had missed before. The faint golden lines that seemed to move under Hao Yu's skin when he spoke about his abilities. Like circuitry, like something alive. How long have you been doing this? I Chen asked quietly. Exorcisms? 10 years. Being tired? 25. Hao Yu's voice was lighter than the words. I started young. Prodigy. The youngest Taoist master in 3 generations. Everyone was very impressed. No one asked if I wanted to spend my childhood fighting demons instead of going to school. You didn't go to school? I exorcised a vengeful ghost during my high school entrance exam. They let me pass anyway because the ghost had possessed the proctor. Hao Yu ate a grape. I'm not telling you this to make you feel sorry for me. I'm telling you so you understand. I am done. I am retired. The only reason I'm here is because your curse zone is the only place in this city where demons don't bother me. I Chen studied him. The golden lines under his skin had faded now, invisible again. The lazy posture had returned. But I Chen had seen what was underneath, just for a moment. You're not lazy, I Chen said slowly. You're exhausted. Same thing. It's not. Hao Yu looked at him. Something flickered in his dark eyes. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. Then it was gone. Go to bed, Xiao Chen, he said. You have a company to run tomorrow. And I have a villainess to watch poison more people. I Chen didn't go to bed. He sat in the armchair across from the couch, watching Hao Yu read his web novel, until the man's eyes finally closed and his breathing evened out. No shadow creatures came that night, either. I Chen stayed in the armchair until dawn, and he thought, he's not a con artist. He's a weapon pretending to be a cat. He didn't know yet that the weapon was already pointed at his own heart. Chapter 3. The First Touch, Metaphysical Consequences. The contract was Lin Wei's idea. Sir, if he's going to stay, we need paperwork, the assistant said, handing I Chen a 12-page document. Non-disclosure agreement, liability waiver, medical insurance. I've also added a clause about appropriate workplace behavior, given the sleeping arrangements. Chen read through it, then added a clause of his own. Clause 7. Employee, Chun Haoyu, must remain within 10 meters of employer, Xiao Chen, at all times, excluding bathroom breaks not to exceed 15 minutes. He showed it to Haoyu, who was eating breakfast, grapes, plus a bowl of congee that Chen had ordered from a 3-Michelin-star restaurant, because Haoyu had complained that the kitchen felt sad. Haoyu read the clause, then picked up the pen. Clause 8. Employer must provide one back scratch per evening. Duration, minimum 10 minutes. No talking during said scratch. Music optional but preferred. Instrumental only, no lyrics. Lyrics disturb the metaphysical flow. He slid the contract back. Chen stared at the addition. A back scratch. Non-negotiable. You want me to scratch your back? My back is where I store most of my residual curse absorption. If you don't scratch it, the energy builds up and I get cranky. You don't want me cranky. Chen signed. His hand trembled slightly as he did. He told himself it was from lack of sleep. He had been sleeping better since Haoyu arrived. Not well, but better, and his body didn't know how to process the change. That was all. Lin Wei witnessed the signing. She looked between the two men, said nothing, and quietly updated Chen's will to include mysterious circumstances as a possible cause of death. The charity gala was 3 days later. Chen had tried to get out of it. He had tried every excuse: business emergency, health issues, a sudden and unexplained fear of chandeliers. The event organizers had responded by doubling their security deposit and sending a personal invitation from the mayor. Just go, Haoyu said from the couch. I'll come with you. You'll need a suit. Then I won't come. You have to come. Clause 7. 10 meters. Haoyu considered this. Fine, but I'm not wearing a suit. He wore the hoodie. Chen stood in the penthouse entryway in a custom Armani tuxedo, looking at his lucky charm in a gray hoodie with a grape stain on the sleeve. You can't be serious. I'm never serious. It's exhausting. Haoyu walked past him to the elevator. Are we going or not? I want to see if they have the good champagne. The gala was held at the Peninsula Hotel. Crystal chandeliers. String quartet playing something classical and expensive. 300 of Shanghai's wealthiest people pretending to care about the charity, children's literacy, while networking for their next deal. Chen moved through the crowd like a shark, graceful, detached, dangerous. People parted around him. No one touched him. Everyone knew the stories. The Xiao curse. The man who couldn't be close to anyone. Haoyu followed 3 steps behind. Eating grapes from a bag he had somehow smuggled past security. Hao ran. A voice said, I didn't expect to see you here. Chen turned. Zhang Wei, CEO of a rival tech conglomerate. Smiling smile that didn't reach his eyes. They had been competing for the same government contract for 6 months. Zhang Wei, Chen said flatly. I didn't expect to be here either. And who's your friend? Zhang Wei's gaze slid to Haoyu. New assistant? You usually hire more professional staff. Haoyu looked up from his grapes. I'm his lucky charm. Zhang Wei laughed. A lucky charm? How quaint. I thought you didn't believe in superstition, Xiao. I don't. Chen's voice was ice. He believes in me. It was such a strange thing to say that even Haoyu looked up. Zhang Wei's smile faltered. Well, Zhang Wei said, recovering. Enjoy the evening. I hope your charm works better than the last one. He walked away. As he passed Haoyu, something moved in his shadow. Something that wasn't shadow. Haoyu saw it. A hungry ghost, attached to Zhang Wei's aura, waiting for the right moment to transfer to its real target. Xiao Chen. The ghost would drain Chen's wealth luck. Not his money, but his luck with money. Every investment would fail. Every deal would collapse. Every partnership would turn hostile. It was a slow death, but a thorough one. Haoyu sighed. He had been hoping to enjoy the champagne first. The attack came during the keynote speech. Chen was standing near the back of the ballroom, half listening to a woman talk about literacy rates when the temperature dropped 15 degrees. His breath fogged. The string quartet hit a sour note. He looked for Haoyu. The man was leaning against a pillar, eyes half closed, looking like he was about to fall asleep standing up. But his fingers were moving, counting, calculating. The hungry ghost detached from Zhang Wei's shadow. It was a large one, well-fed, its mouth a gaping void that stretched wider than its face. It flowed across the floor toward Ichin, invisible to everyone except the man who could see dead things and the man who could calculate them. Hao Yu pushed off the pillar. He didn't run. He didn't chant. He walked, casual and unhurried, until he was standing directly behind Ichin. Then he leaned forward and rested his forehead against the back of Ichin's shoulder. The touch was light, brief, barely a contact. The hungry ghost reached Ichin's shadow at the same moment and burst into golden flame. The light was blinding, a flash of warmth that spread through the ballroom like a wave. Every person in the room felt it. The keynote speaker stopped mid-sentence. The string quartet's instruments hummed. A woman near the front gasped and put her hand to her chest, tears streaming down her face for no reason she could name. The hungry ghost screamed, a sound only Ichin and Hao Yu could hear, and dissolved. The golden light faded. Ichin turned slowly. Hao Yu had already stepped back, but the back of Ichin's tuxedo jacket was smoking slightly. Through the fabric, Ichin could see a faint glow, a sigil, burned into the wool, the shape of something ancient and protective. Hao Yu was staring at his own hands. His expression was not lazy. It was confused, almost scared. What was that? Ichin demanded. I don't know. Hao Yu's voice was quiet. That's never happened before. In the car on the way home, neither of them spoke. The driver took them through the Shanghai streets, past the neon lights and the ancient alleyways, past the new world and the old one. Ichin watched Hao Yu in the reflection of the window. The man's hands were still shaking slightly. His golden sigils, the ones under his skin, were brighter than Ichin had ever seen them. Why did you touch me? Ichin asked finally. I didn't plan it. Hao Yu's voice was hollow. I calculated that the ghost would reach your shadow in 4.2 seconds. I calculated that I could intercept it with a standard deflection ward. But my body moved before my brain finished. He stopped. I touched you because I wanted to be closer. The words hung in the dark car. Ichin reached out. He didn't think. He grabbed Hao Yu's wrist. The sigils flared. Hao Yu flinched, but he didn't pull away. Don't leave, Ichin said. It was not a command. It was a plea. He had never pleaded for anything in his life. Hao Yu looked at the hand on his wrist. He looked at Ichin's face, the exhaustion, the fear, the desperate hope that he probably didn't even know was showing. I wasn't going to, Hao Yu said softly. The villa has a very nice couch. Ichin's grip tightened. The couch is not the reason. No, Hao Yu agreed. It's not. They drove the rest of the way in silence. But Ichin did not let go of Hao Yu's wrist. When they reached the penthouse, Ichin's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. He read it as they walked through the door. You've bonded with a celestial anchor. He will die in 30 days if you don't sever the tie. Choose. The phone slipped from Ichin's fingers and shattered on the marble floor. Chapter 4. The Curse of Proximity. What is a celestial anchor? Ichin asked this question at 3 a.m., standing in his kitchen, having retrieved a backup phone and already made 3 calls. The first call was to Lin Wei, who had not answered. She had learned to silence her phone after 11 p.m., following the incident of the 2 a.m. demon attack. The second call was to his metaphysical consultants, who had answered and then immediately hung up when he said celestial anchor. The third call was to a woman named May, who ran an underground information network for people who trafficked in the spaces between worlds. May had answered. May had laughed. May had said, "You're bonded to a luck vessel? Oh, Xiaoqian, you really know how to pick them." Now Ichin was standing in his kitchen, phone pressed to his ear, while Hao Yu slept on the couch in the other room. The text message glowed on his screen. He will die in 30 days. Luck vessels, May said, her voice crackling over the line. They're rare, born maybe once a century. They absorb bad karma, not just their own, but the world's. Neutralize it. Burn it up like fuel. She paused. The downside is that they burn out. Fast. Most don't live past 30. Ichin's hand tightened on the phone. He's 25. Then he's got about 5 years left, assuming he doesn't overexert himself. But you said he bonded with you? Touched you with intention? Yes. That's not supposed to happen. May's voice was sharp now. Luck vessels don't bond. They absorb and disperse. If he bonded with you, it means... She trailed off. Means what? It means he's not just a vessel. He's an anchor. A celestial anchor. They're even rarer. Maybe 1 in 5 centuries. They can absorb curses directly from a single source, permanently, but the cost is a death link. Every curse he takes from you, his lifeline shortens. And if the bond is mutual, if you care about him, if he cares about you, the link becomes symbiotic. His death becomes your death. Your death becomes his. I-Chien closed his eyes. How long? For a full curse transfer? 30 days. Maybe less if the curse is strong. May's voice softened, just slightly. I-Chien, whatever you're feeling for this man, stop. Sever the tie now, while you still can. Let him go back to being a normal luck vessel. He'll have 5 years instead of 30 days. 5 years, I-Chien repeated. He'd still die. We all die. But he'd have more time. I-Chien looked toward the living room. Through the doorway, he could see the edge of the couch, the fall of dark hair against a throw pillow. Hao-Yu's breathing was soft and even. Thank you, May, I-Chien said and hung up. He walked to the living room. Hao-Yu was awake. He was sitting up on the couch, blanket around his shoulders, great bag in his lap. His eyes were clear and dark, and they watched I-Chien with an expression that was not surprised. You heard, I-Chien said. I heard everything. Hao-Yu ate a grape. May's network is good, but she doesn't know everything. She doesn't know. I already calculated it. You calculated your own death? I calculate everything. Hao-Yu's voice was flat. When I first touched you at the gala, I felt the link form. I ran the numbers. 30 days of complete peace versus 5 more years of fighting demons every single night. 30 days of lying on a nice couch, eating good grapes, not having to save anyone, versus 5 years of exhaustion, blood, and eventually dying alone in some hotel room after a possession goes wrong. He shrugged. Easy math. I-Chien crossed the room in 3 strides. He grabbed Hao-Yu by the shoulders, pulled him up from the couch, and stared into his face. That's not math, I-Chien said, his voice cracking. That's suicide. Hao-Yu didn't pull away. He looked back at I-Chien with those dark, tired eyes, and for a moment, the laziness was completely gone. You're the first thing that's felt warm in 10 years, shall I-Chien? His voice was barely a whisper. Let me be lazy about dying, okay? I-Chien's grip tightened. No, no, no. I-Chien released his shoulders, stepped back, and pulled out his phone. I'm going to find another way. There's always another way. I didn't build a billion-yuan company by accepting the first answer. You built a billion-yuan company because your curse makes you ruthlessly efficient at destroying competitors. Same thing. I-Chien was already dialing. Go back to sleep. You'll need your strength. For what? For a living. I-Chien didn't sleep for 3 days. He read. He called. He paid enormous sums of money to people who knew things that weren't in any library. He sat in his office, surrounded by ancient texts and modern printouts, searching for a solution that May said didn't exist. On the second day, Lin Wei found him asleep at his desk, face pressed into a book about Buddhist death rituals. She covered him with a blanket and didn't tell anyone. On the third day, Hao-Yu walked into the office. You look terrible, Hao-Yu said. You look the same, I-Chien said, not looking up from a scroll that was literally smoking at the edges. I always look the same. It's part of my charm. Hao-Yu sat on the edge of the desk, right on top of a stack of papers. Found anything? I-Chien hesitated. Then he turned the smoking scroll around. It's an old text, he said. Pre-Tang Dynasty. It describes something called a reverse curse transfer. If you can identify the original source of a curse, the person who cast it, you can transfer all the accumulated bad luck back to them. The curse breaks. The death link severs. Hao-Yu read the scroll. His expression didn't change, but his hand, resting on the desk, curled into a fist. The original source of your curse, Hao-Yu said slowly. Your mother. Yes. Who lives in a sealed temple because she's a living curse vessel herself. Yes. Who would have to absorb 30 years of accumulated bad luck all at once, which would probably kill her. Yes. They looked at each other. You want me to kill your mother? Hao Yu said. I want you to live. Ichin's voice was steady. She cursed me when I was born. She's been feeding on my suffering for 28 years. She made her choice. Now I'm making mine. Hao Yu was silent for a long moment. Then he picked up a grape from the bag in his hoodie pocket and ate it slowly. You're supposed to be the selfish one, he said finally. Stop making this hard. Too late. Ichin stood up. We leave tomorrow. The temple is 3 hours north of here. I've already arranged transportation. You arranged transportation to your mother's sealed, cursed temple. I arranged transportation to the place where we save your life. Ichin walked to the door, then paused. Chen Hao Yu. What? Thank you. For being warm. He left before Hao Yu could respond. In the office, alone among the smoking scrolls and ancient texts, Hao Yu put his head in his hands and laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had finally found something worth living for, 30 days before he was supposed to die. Idiot, he whispered to the empty room. You absolute idiot. Chapter 5. The Mother's Temple. The temple was not what Ichin expected. He had imagined something dark, something evil, a fortress of bones and screaming, maybe, or a cave filled with the ghosts of his mother's victims. Instead, it was beautiful. The mountain road ended at a stone archway covered in wisteria. Beyond it, a path of white gravel wound through a garden of plum trees, their branches heavy with blossoms even though it was autumn. At the end of the path, a small wooden temple stood at the edge of a cliff, overlooking a valley of mist and green. And wrapped around everything, the archway, the path, the trees, the temple itself, were locks. Hundreds of them, thousands, copper and iron and jade, hanging from every branch, every post, every beam. They glinted in the afternoon light like scales on a sleeping dragon. 108 locks, Hao Yu said, stepping out of the car. He was eating grapes. He had brought 3 bags, each one keyed to a different metaphysical principle. You can't open them with force. You have to understand them. Can you? Hao Yu walked to the first lock. It hung from the archway, small and copper, inscribed with characters that Ichin couldn't read. Hao Yu touched it with one finger. Lock 1, he said. The lock of blood, sealed by a mother's first cry after giving birth. He pressed his thumb to the lock's surface. A drop of blood appeared from nowhere. Not his, Ichin realized, but his mother's, preserved in the metal for 28 years. The lock clicked open. How did you? I told you. I calculate. How you move to the next lock. Every lock has a key. The key is always an emotion. Blood for birth. Grief for loss. He touched the second lock, silver, this time, and whispered something Ichin couldn't hear. The lock opened. They walked through the garden, lock by lock. How you opened each one with a touch, a word, sometimes just a look. His golden sigils were glowing now, bright enough to see even through his hoodie. His face was pale, and his hands were shaking, but he didn't stop. Ichin watched him and felt something crack open in his chest. He had spent his whole life alone, cursed, untouchable. He had told himself he didn't need anyone, that needing people was weakness, and weakness got you killed. But here was this man, this lazy, tired, beautiful man, burning through his own life force to open locks that should have taken 100 monks 100 years. He's dying for you, a voice whispered in Ichin's head. And you're letting him. I'm not letting him, Ichin said aloud. How you look back? What? Nothing. Keep going. The final lock was on the temple door itself. It was black iron, massive, covered in seals and sigils and warnings in a dozen languages. How you stood before it, swaying slightly on his feet. This one's different, he said. It's not keyed to an emotion. It's keyed to a person. Who? Me? How you smiled. It was not a nice smile. Your mother knew someone would come for you eventually. She built this lock to open only for a celestial anchor. Only for someone who could absorb her curse and die in her place. Ichin grabbed his arm. Then we stop. We find another way. There is no other way. How you pulled free. That's the joke, Ichin. There was never another way. From a moment I calculated that peace coefficient, from the moment I walked into your boardroom, from the moment I touched you at the gala, this was always how it ended. No. Yes. How you turned to the lock. Don't follow me inside. Whatever happens, don't. He touched the lock. It exploded open. The temple doors swung inward, and the curse that had been building for 28 years rushed out like a hurricane. Ichin was thrown back against a plum tree. He heard branches breaking, heard his own ribs crack, heard how you scream. Not in pain, but in effort. Golden light flooded the garden, brighter than the sun, and when Ichin could see again, How Yu was gone. He ran inside. The temple was empty. No altar. No statues. Just a woman sitting on a cushion in the center of a circular room, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes closed. She was beautiful, the kind of beautiful that came from centuries of practice, from magic and malice, and the deliberate refusal to age. She opened her eyes. They were exactly like Ichin's. "Hello, son," Li Hua said. "I was wondering when you'd come." "Where is he?" Ichin's voice was raw. "He's here." Li Hua tilted her head. "Inside the curse. Absorbing it. Dying." She smiled. "You always did attract sacrifices, Ichin. People who want to save you. People who want to die for you. It's the curse's favorite game. You made the curse. I made you." She stood, smooth and fluid, and walked toward him. "Your father wanted an heir. I wanted power. We made a deal. His bloodline, my magic. The curse was supposed to make you strong, ruthless, unkillable. Instead, it made you." She waved a hand. "Soft. I'm not soft. You brought a celestial anchor to die for you. That's not ruthlessness. That's sentiment." She stopped a meter away, close enough to touch, but not touching. "I can save him, you know. I can reverse the curse. I can give you both 30 more years. What's the price?" Li Hua laughed. "There's always a price. You know that better than anyone." She reached out and touched his cheek. Her hand was cold. "Give me the company. Give me your wealth. Give me your memories of the past 28 years. Become my vessel instead of my son, and I'll let him live." Ichin looked at her. This woman who had given birth to him and cursed him in the same breath. This woman who had fed on his suffering like a parasite. This woman who was offering him a deal that would destroy everything he had built, everything he was. "No," he said. Li Hua's smile faltered. "No, no." Ichin stepped back. "I'm not going to trade his life for mine. That's not a deal. That's just the same curse in different clothes. Then he dies." Her voice was flat. "In about, 10 minutes. The curse will finish absorbing him, and he'll turn to dust. You'll watch, and then you'll live the rest of your long, wealthy, lonely life knowing that you could have saved him but didn't." Ichin closed his eyes. He thought of How Yu on the couch, eating grapes, reading web novels. How Yu yawning through exorcisms. How Yu saying, "You're the first thing that's felt warm in 10 years. How Yu's hand in his, the golden sigils flaring, the look in his eyes when he said, "Let me be lazy about dying." He opened his eyes. "No," he said again. But this time it was different. This time, he wasn't refusing a deal. He was refusing a fate. He walked past his mother, past the cushion, to the center of the room. The curse was visible there, a vortex of black and gold, spinning like a galaxy, with How Yu at its heart. The man's eyes were closed. His hoodie was gone, burned away, and his bare chest was covered in golden sigils that were flickering, dying one by one. "How Yu?" Ichin said. "Can you hear me?" No response. "How Yu? I'm going to say something, and I need you to listen." Ichin stepped into the vortex. The curse tore at him, his clothes, his skin, his luck. He felt years of bad karma pressing against him, try to crush him. He kept walking. "I've never asked anyone for anything. I've never needed anyone. I built an empire because I had nothing else. But I need you." He reached the center. He reached How Yu. "I need you to live," Ichin whispered. "Not because you're useful. Not because you saved my life. Because you make me want to save yours." He took How Yu's face in his hands and kissed him. The curse screamed. The golden sigils blazed. And Li Hua, watching from the edge of the vortex, felt something she had not felt in 28 years. Fear. Chapter 6. The 14-day countdown. The curse broke. Not because of magic. Not because of power. Because Li Hua had built it on hatred. And hatred cannot survive the weight of genuine love. She felt it happen. The threads of the curse, woven through Ichin's fate since birth, unraveling one by one. She tried to hold them together, to reinforce them, to pour more of her own malice into the spell. But it was like trying to hold back the ocean with her hands. "No," she whispered. "No, this is mine. You are mine. I'm not yours." I-Chin pulled back from the kiss, still holding Hao Yu's face. "I was never yours. I was just too scared to belong to anyone else." The curse collapsed. The black vortex dissolved into golden light. The temple walls cracked. The locks in the garden, all 1,000 of them, shattered at once, raining copper and iron and jade onto the white gravel. Li Hua fell to her knees. The curse had been tied to her life force. Without it, she was just a woman, old, tired, and suddenly very alone. "Get out," she said, her voice hollow. "Both of you. Get out before I find another way to curse you." I-Chin didn't look at her. He was looking at Hao Yu, who was slumped in his arms, breathing but unconscious. The golden sigils were still there, but they were dim, fading. "Come on," I-Chin said, lifting him. "Let's go home." The drive back to Shanghai took 4 hours. Hao Yu slept the entire way. He didn't wake when I-Chin carried him into the penthouse. He didn't wake when I-Chin laid him on the bed that now faced the auspicious direction, the bed that had become their bed over the past weeks. He didn't wake when I-Chin sat beside him, holding his hand, watching the rise and fall of his chest. But when dawn came, Hao Yu opened his eyes. "Hey," he said, voice rough. "You look terrible. You look worse," I-Chin said. And then, because he'd spent 28 years not crying and was apparently making up for lost time, he burst into tears. Hao Yu watched him cry. He didn't say anything. He just reached up with his free hand and wiped the tears away, slowly, gently. "The curse is gone," I-Chin said finally. "My mother's curse. You broke it. I didn't do anything. You kissed me. I kissed you because you were dying. I was dying because I touched you." Hao Yu's hand fell back to the bed. "The death link is still there, I-Chin. The curse is gone, but the bond between us, the celestial anchor bond, that's still there. I felt it when the curse broke. It's not going away." "How long?" Hao Yu closed his eyes. 14 days. Maybe less." I-Chin gripped his hand tighter. "Then we have 14 days to find another solution." "There is no other solution. There's always another solution. I told you that." I-Chin stood up. "Rest. I'll make you breakfast. You can't cook. I'll learn." Hao Yu watched him walk to the door. I-Chin. I-Chin stopped. "Thank you," Hao Yu said quietly, "for kissing me." I-Chin didn't turn around. "I'll do it again if you want." "I want." I-Chin turned. He walked back to the bed. He kissed Hao Yu again, longer this time, slower. When he pulled back, Hao Yu's eyes were bright. "You're crying again," Hao Yu said. "I know." The next 14 days were the best and worst of both their lives. Hao Yu's body started failing on day 2. It was slow at first, a cough here, a moment of dizziness there. By day 5, he was sleeping 16 hours a day. By day 8, I-Chin had to carry him from the bedroom to the couch. I-Chin canceled everything. Meetings, mergers, board calls. Lin Wei handled it with the efficiency of someone who had been preparing for this moment since she first saw the grape skin hit the elevator button. The company would survive. I-Chin didn't care if it didn't. He learned to make kanji. It was terrible the first time, too salty, too thick, too something. Hao Yu ate it anyway. "You're a terrible cook," Hao Yu said, spoon in hand. "I'm a billionaire. I hire people to cook, then hire someone. I want to do it myself." I-Chin sat on the edge of the bed, watching Hao Yu eat. "I want to take care of you." Hao Yu set down the spoon. "You're going to be a mess when I die. I'm not going to let you die." "I-Chin, I'm not." I-Chin's voice was fierce. "I didn't spend 10 years fighting a curse just to lose you to a bond that I created. I will find a way. I will burn down every library, wake every ghost, break every rule. You are not dying." Hao Yu looked at him for a long moment. Then he smiled, a real smile, not the lazy half smile he usually wore. "You're very loud," he said. "I'm trying to nap forever. Let me nap in peace." I-Chin leaned down and kissed his forehead. Hao Yu went still. Then, very softly, "Do that again, and I might actually live out of spite." On day 12, Hao Yu had a bad night. He woke up coughing blood. The golden sigils on his chest were barely visible now, just faint lines like scars. His skin was cold. His eyes were unfocused. Ichin held him through the night. He didn't sleep. He didn't call a doctor. Doctors couldn't help with this. He just held Haoyu and listened to his breathing and tried not to think about the countdown. At 3 a.m., Haoyu mumbled something. What? Ichin leaned closer. The lucky charm exchange, Haoyu said, barely audible. There's a ritual. If someone willingly gives me their remaining luck, I can transfer the death link to an object. It doesn't break the bond, but it moves it. Buys time. Ichin's heart stopped. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because the person giving the luck becomes normal. Haoyu's eyes opened, just a crack. No more immunity. No more protection. They'd be vulnerable to everything. Bad luck, disease, accidents. Just a normal person. I don't care. You should care. Haoyu's voice was weak, but fierce. Your luck is the only reason you survived this long. Without it, you're just a rich man in a dangerous world. Then I'll be a rich man in a dangerous world. Ichin cupped Haoyu's face in his hands. Take my luck. Take all of it. I don't want it if it means losing you. Haoyu closed his eyes. Tears slipped from the corners, running down into his hair. You're so stupid, he whispered. I learned from the best. On day 14, Haoyu refused. Ichin found him in the living room, sitting in the center of a ritual circle drawn in what looked like chalk and something darker. His hoodie was gone again. His chest was bare, the golden sigils almost completely faded. In his hands, he held a small jade knife. What are you doing? Ichin demanded. Finishing this. Haoyu didn't look up. I found another way. A severance ritual. It'll break the bond completely. You'll keep your luck. I'll die in peace. No. Ichin stepped toward the circle. Don't. Haoyu's voice was sharp. The circle is warded. If you cross it, the backlash will kill you. I don't care. I do. Haoyu looked up, and his eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted, but clear. Ichin, I've spent 10 years fighting. 10 years bleeding. 10 years watching people die because I wasn't fast enough, wasn't strong enough. I'm so tired. Please, let me have this. Let me choose how I go. Ichin stood at the edge of the circle. He looked at the man who had saved his life a dozen times without ever getting up from the couch. The man who had opened 1,000 locks with his bare hands. The man who had looked at a curse that should have killed anyone else and said, easy math. No, Ichin said, and he stepped into the circle. Chapter 7, The Last Grape. The ward hit him like a wall of fire. Ichin felt his skin blister, his lungs fill with smoke, his bones crack under the pressure. The ritual circle was designed to keep out intruders, to kill them, if necessary. He had known that before he stepped in. He stepped in anyway. Haoyu, he gasped, forcing one foot in front of the other. Haoyu, listen to me. Stop. Haoyu was on his feet now, the jade knife fallen from his hands. You'll die. The ward will kill you. Then I'll die. Ichin took another step. His vision was blurring. He could feel his own blood running down his arms. But I'm not letting you die alone. You're not supposed to be here. Haoyu's voice cracked. You're supposed to be selfish. You're supposed to let me go. I lied. Ichin reached him. He reached Haoyu, and he grabbed him by the shoulders, and he pulled him close despite the pain, despite the blood, despite everything. I'm not selfish. I'm not cold. I'm just a man who spent 28 years alone and finally found someone worth being with. And I am not letting you go. Haoyu was crying now. Great heaving sobs that shook his whole body. You idiot. You absolute idiot. I calculated everything. I planned everything. You were supposed to let me. I know. Ichin held him tighter. I know what you calculated. But you forgot one variable. What? Me? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a grape. It was the last grape from Haoyu's bag. The one he had been saving. The one he had planned to eat after the ritual. Ichin held it in his palm, and he thought about everything Haoyu had told him about the lucky charm exchange. If someone willingly gives me their remaining luck, I can transfer the death link to an object. I'm not giving you my luck, Ichin said. I'm giving you something better. He bit his own thumb. Blood welled up hot and red. He drew a sigil on Haoyu's chest. The same sigil that had appeared the first time they touched, the one that had burned through his tuxedo at the gala. Then he pressed the grape to Haoyu's lips. Eat, he commanded. Hao Yu's eyes widened. Chen, no. Eat the grape, Chen Hao Yu. That's an order from your employer. Hao Yu opened his mouth. Chen pushed the grape inside. Hao Yu chewed. He swallowed, and the death link moved. It flowed out of Hao Yu's body like water, golden and black, beautiful and terrible. It traveled up through his throat, across his tongue, into the grape that was now in his stomach. And then, because the ritual required a vessel, it traveled from the grape to the person who had offered it. To Chen, he felt it hit him like a train. The death link settled into his chest, cold and heavy, and he knew that he had just traded places. Hao Yu would live. He would die. He collapsed. Hao Yu caught him, lowering him to the floor of the ruined ritual circle. The wards were gone now, burned out by the transfer. The chalk was scattered. The jade knife lay forgotten. Why? Hao Yu's voice was raw. Why would you do that? Chen looked up at him. His vision was fading at the edges, but he could still see Hao Yu's face. The tears, the fear, the desperate, furious love. Because you said you wanted a villa and no chores, Chen whispered. Can't have that if you're dead. That's not funny. I'm not trying to be funny. Chen reached up and touched Hao Yu's cheek. His hand was cold. I'm trying to be worth it. Hao Yu grabbed his hand, pressed it to his own cheek, and sobbed. And then, the death link changed. Chen felt it first. The coldness in his chest, instead of spreading, began to contract, to shrink, to transform. The grape in his stomach, the vessel, was not just holding the death link. It was changing it. Hao Yu felt it too. His eyes widened. The bond, he breathed. The celestial anchor bond. It's not a death link anymore. It's a lucky charm, Chen finished. The grape turned to jade. It happened inside Chen's body. A soft warmth, a gentle pressure, and then something solid resting against his heart. Not a curse, not a death sentence. A charm, a real lucky charm, forged from their bond, from Chen's sacrifice and Hao Yu's willingness to receive it, from the choice they had both made again and again to stay. The golden sigils on Hao Yu's chest blazed back to life, brighter than before, warmer. The exhaustion in his eyes faded. The blood on his lips dried and flaked away. He was whole. Chen sat up slowly. He felt normal, not cursed, not blessed, just normal, for the first time in his life. You're an idiot, Hao Yu said. I know, a complete idiot. I know, I'm going to be so annoying about this forever. Chen laughed. It was the first time he had ever really laughed. Not a polite chuckle, not a cold smirk, but a real, helpless, joyful laugh. I know. Hao Yu kissed him. It was not a gentle kiss. It was not a careful kiss. It was the kiss of someone who had almost died twice and was tired of pretending he didn't care. Hao Yu kissed Chen like he was trying to memorize the shape of his mouth, the taste of his breath, the way his hands came up to tangle in Hao Yu's hair. When they finally broke apart, both of them were crying. We're a mess, Hao Yu said. We're alive, Chen said. That's the same thing. Epilogue. 1 year later, the villa was in the suburbs of Suzhou, surrounded by bamboo groves and a koi pond that Hao Yu had insisted on even though he never looked at it. It had blackout curtains in every room, a kitchen that Chen had learned to use. His kanji was now merely mediocre, and a grapevine in the backyard that produced fruit so sour that even Hao Yu refused to eat it. He ate store-bought grapes instead. He was not a martyr. Xiao Chen had stepped down as CEO 6 months ago. The company was now run by Lin Wei, who had sent him a fruit basket with a card that read, "Finally, enjoy your retirement." He still owned a controlling share, but he spent most of his days in the villa, reading, cooking, and watching Hao Yu sleep. Hao Yu still slept a lot. Old habits. But he also laughed more. He went outside sometimes without being asked. He had started teaching Chen the basics of metaphysics. Not because Chen had any talent for it, but because Hao Yu liked the way Chen frowned when he tried to calculate a peace coefficient. You're doing it wrong, Hao Yu said for the 5th time that afternoon. I'm doing it exactly the way you showed me. Then you're doing it wrong in exactly the way I showed you. That's worse. Chen threw a pillow at him. Hao Yu caught it without looking. Show off. Lucky charm. They'd stopped keeping track of who saved whom. It didn't matter anymore. The bond between them was no longer a curse or a death sentence. It was just a fact like gravity or the sunrise. They were connected. They would always be connected. At night, they slept in the same bed. Ichin still woke up sometimes, expecting shadows, expecting whispers. But there was only Haoyu, warm and solid and smelling like sandalwood, his hand resting on Ichin's chest where the jade charm now lived. One night, a minor demon, a curiosity spirit, drawn by the rumors of a broken curse, crept up to the villa's window. It wanted to see. It wanted to understand. It saw two men sleeping tangled together, golden light woven between them like silk. It saw the jade charm pulsing gently, not with malice, but with something the demon didn't have a name for. It turned around and decided to haunt literally anywhere else. The last scene took place on a Tuesday. Ichin came home late from a board meeting, his first in 3 months. Lin Wei had begged him to attend in person, and he had finally agreed, but he had spent the entire 3 hours checking his phone for messages from Haoyu. Haoyu had sent 6 texts. 1. The grapes are mediocre today. Fix it. 2. I'm not saying you control the weather, but the sun is too bright. Fix that too. 3. I took a nap. It was fine. 4. I dreamed about you. You were making kanji badly. 5. The dream was accurate. 6. Come home. Ichin came home. The villa was dark except for the living room lamp. Haoyu was on the couch, head pillowed on Ichin's laptop bag, his phone open to a web novel about a villainess poisoning her enemies. He was asleep. Ichin stood in the doorway and watched him. He thought about the first night, when Haoyu had stolen his pillow and told him not to touch until morning. He thought about grape skins and golden sigils and a curse that had tried to kill him 100 times. He thought about a man who had walked into his boardroom, yawned at his security team, and offered to be his lucky charm. He thought about how lucky he was. He crossed the room, lifted Haoyu carefully. The man didn't even stir, just mumbled something about 5 more minutes, and carried him to bed. Haoyu woke up just enough to wrap his arms around Ichin's neck. Told you, he murmured. Lucky charm. Ichin laid him down, pulled the covers over both of them, and pressed a kiss to his temple. My lucky charm, he said. Outside, the bamboo rustled. The koi pond rippled. The grapevine grew another sour fruit that no one would eat. And in the bedroom, 2 men slept, tangled together, golden light woven between them like silk. It was, Chun Haoyu would later say, the best nap of his life. Xiao Ichin would agree.